Welcome back to another reading and correcting of Stepping Up with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. Today, we are doing chapter 106. Tibs straightened, trying to make out what the increased illumination at the back of Sebastian's camp was about. There had been activity all night long, with distant sounds of hammering and large objects being dragged about. Unfortunately, no matter what roof he stood on, he couldn't see anything that told him what was happening. Now, in the pre-dawn lighting of the sky, it looked like Sebastian's people had lit a bonfire. There was a distant clunk, and Tibs stood stunned, as a large ball of fire arched over him and fell onto a building deeper. Okay, I'm changing that. I need to alter those. As a large ball of fire arched over the town and fell onto a building somewhere deeper, splashing and sending flames flying on the surrounding ones. The tar-like smell that trailed the ball snapped him out. Snap him back. And he ran towards the fire, jumping roofs, using air, and caring of who might see him. He had to go put the fire out before it could spread. Runners were already fighting the fire when he dropped from the closest roof. They kept the fire from spreading to an unaffected building, pulling the air away in an ineffectual attempt to smother them. Okay, that feels iffy. Runners were already fighting it. No, I don't need the fighting it. As he dropped from the closest roof, they kept the fire from spreading to an affected building. I don't need that. They kept the fire from spreading and pulled air away in an ineffectual attempt to smother them. I think I removed flames somewhere in there. Smother the flames, so I need to add it here. A couple of Earth users were trying to do the same, but they didn't have the training to affect only small patches of the ground, and they damaged one building. No, they damaged a building attempting to save it. With all of them there, Tibs had no choice but to limit himself to water, and he pulled essence out, ready to unleash a torrent on. An explosion sent rubble and a badly burned runner flying. Then Tibs redirected the water to catch them, trying to process what had happened. "Don't use water!" someone yelled. Frost tackled the runner, concentrating on the ball of fire before them, breaking their concentration. "Water's only going to make things worse." Two of the water users looked in her direction and dismissed her. "Do as she says," Tibs ordered. The runner was lying on the ground. He was laying on the ground and was also a water. "Frost, what's going on?" The other runners looked in his direction before letting go of the water essence they'd been collecting. "You're dealing with Everburn," she told them, pulling the runner to her feet. "Water just makes the stuff burn hotter." "Magic?" he asked, even if he didn't feel any sort of weaves under the fire. "How else could water help fire?" "Alchemy," she replied, which I guess is sort of magic, but it doesn't need people to have an element. People without element to do magic? Why hasn't the guild told us about that's a thing? "You're going to have to ask them," she replied, letting go of the now steady, if still confused, runner. "I know about it because one of the caravan I was a guard on years ago had an alchemist traveling with them. Her act was based around Everburn, challenging anyone to put out a small fire with it at its base. She also made stuff that would keep infection from setting in and speed up healing, but the Everburn trick was how she attracted the attention." How do we stop it? One of the water users asked, joining them. You don't, she replied. That's why it's called Everburn. The only thing you can do is make sure the fire itself doesn't spread while it consumes. The fire doesn't spread while it consumes itself. It was cursed as Runner ran off, calling others to them and combining elements to control the flame. If the fire consumed the Everburn, then there was a way to put it out. Then there was a way to put it out quickly, but Tibs didn't have the time to figure out right how right now. It came flying from Sebastian's camp. Is that something an alchemist can do? Or does it mean we're sure? Is that something only an alchemist can do? Or does it mean we're sure he has adventurers now? He has a catapult. Oh, wait, okay. Okay, yeah. Is that something an alchemist can also do? Or does it mean we're sure he has an adventurer now? He has adventurers now. He has a catapult, quickly said, running. I've never seen one used to send Everburn, but if they have a way to put it in the bowl before lighting it, it'll work. Something else Tibs would have to ask about once this was controlled. Yeah, this was done. Once this was done. It's going to cost him the catapult, Ross said. Everburn doesn't care what's in it, only lit once. Once lit, it'll burn it, and the stuff sticks like tar. Smells like it, too, Tibs muttered, watching the others work, feeling powerless to help, as he could use his other elements. From what Jackal told me, if his father's using something, he has a way to control it. And essence has to be stronger than the stuff, so he could have adventurers keeping it from causing him problems. Which means he does have adventurers, Tib said. Or he has the wood for the catapult enchanted before leaving, he countered, and Tibs groaned. Sorry, war never comes with certainties. I hate this, muttered. You and everyone caught in it. Everyone who's been caught in one. I'm going to destroy that thing, Tibs said, and started marching. Tibs, you can't just march in there, the warriors said. I can't let Sebastian burn down my town. Get a team together, Quigley told him, running to catch up. You know this is exactly what Sebastian's after. You pissed off and marching into his trap. He won't know I'm there. He couldn't do what Bardic or Cumdar could, but when he suffused himself with darkness, he became difficult to see. All he needed were shadows, and he'd be unseen. Quigley grabbed his shoulder. I'm not letting you commit suicide. I am not letting him burn my town. Think, Tibs. You don't have to rush. The fact he hasn't sent a second one means he only has one catapult. He can't put Everburn into the bowl until that's what's already there stops burning. Cross, do you know of anything that can stop Everburn? No. The alchemist had to let it burn through the metal bowl she put it in, and eventually the fire consumed it all. There was nothing left when that one. Once that happened, she put it on the table, the ground. We frowned. Did it burn the earth? No, it just sat there. He nodded. Then it can be smothered. He looked around. Do we have anyone row or lamba with earth as their element? I think we're going to need that level of control to not destroy the buildings while covering them in earth. Jackal's a lamba, he said, but he never worked on being precise. Making himself harder and stronger is all he's been practicing with. Yeah, it's the same with the two other earth fighter I know. Rogues? Yeah, Quigley said. It's the same with the other two Earth fighter I know. Rogues? He shook his head. Not really something that helps us. Water, air, metal are what we seem to go for. Darkness? Quigley asked. I saw your cleric do something that made fire burn weaker. No, Bardic told me it's popular, Tib said, but no one here chose it. I I think we're all too angry to consider something that subtle. Then sorcerers, the warrior said. We can't get them here in time to save these buildings, but if Sebastian can smother Everburn by filling the bowl with earth, the next one is coming soon. Then I have to destroy. No, you aren't. You don't get to tell me what to do. Jackal ordered me to keep you from doing exactly this, the warrior replied. Karina asked me to look out for you. Mez said something about not acting like a child, and Joseph made it clear that if I let you get killed, I wasn't going to be far behind you. He glared at him, at Tibs. Do you have any idea how scary that server can be? Tibs smiled in spite of himself, remembering the times Jackal came running down the stairs in terror after he'd said the wrong thing to his man. Forced it and the smile away. So you're just going to let Sebastian burn everything? No, but I'm not going to let you walk in there and be killed while we have other options. What other options? The warrior raised an eyebrow and motioned around them, at the runners controlling how the flame moved, keeping them centered over the buildings already covered with Everburn. For one thing, we have essence. Tibs fumed. He hated that Quigley had been right. He'd been so focused on avenging the destruction, he hadn't thought beyond his need to act, to do anything that gave his anger an outlet. He hated that Dawn had inserted himself into the group of archers standing on the roof with him, and he hated even more that Amelia was deferring to the sorcerer when it came to who gave the orders. She'd assembled a group, 3 wood archers, one of which was Ro, 2 fire archers, her at Lambda and Mez at Ro, and the last 2 were Omega, but they'd still be able to return the favor to Sebastian. Containing Everburn was how Dawn had made himself invaluable to this attack. He and 3 other sorcerers had smothered, then found a way to manipulate the tar-like substance with their combination of essence. And now he had a large bucket of the stuff with arrows stuck in them, ready to be pulled out and lit before being sent back to their attackers. The distant thunk made Tibs curse, and he was in the process of turning to chase after it when, stand firm, Dawn instructed. There is nothing any of us can do for it. The sorcerers will contain the damage. We are here to make sure this is the last one they send. The sorcerer purposely didn't look at Tibs as he spoke, but there was no doubt who the order was for. Not that Dawn wanted him here. Tibs had nothing to contribute. Not here, not with the fires. Dawn hadn't gone so far as to say he was useless, but the implication had been there. No one had cared, not that Tibs would have let anyone stop him. If he couldn't walk into Sebastian's camp to destroy the catapult, he was going to watch it happen. I say we'll let it burn, Richard said, watching the arc. He was one of the archers taken from a cell in the last group of arrival. He'd been in the process of being released when the guild's demand for more criminals came and had been shipped here. He had even less love for the guild than Tibs had these days. And the ball of burning Everburn was heading for the guild building. Tibs couldn't believe Sebastian had done that. The guild would have to respond to a direct attack, wouldn't they? He could see people on the roof, a lot of them. He made out some in armor or colorful clothing that adventurers seemed to favor, but most were bland at this distance. A sea of people who would do what? Tibs had his answer when the ball of Everburn exploded, sending small globs of the stuff all over the tent. Had Sebastian arranged for that? Was that something else alchemists could do? Then he noticed movements on the roof, and in response to those, globs still heading for the building were flung in other directions. Whatever hopes Tibs had clung to about the building, about the guild, burned away. They had exploded the Everburn over the town. They'd made it impossible for the few sorcerers They'd made it impossible for the few sorcerers they had to smother. Okay, for the few sorcerer able to smother it, to concentrate their effort. He watched as more buildings than he could count erupted, more buildings than they had runners able to control flames. To save their precious building, the guild had sacrificed a large part of the town. I'm going to fill that building with corruption. It growled through his clenched teeth and laughed as they all knelt in it. No, you won't, Don said calmly, watching the guild's effort to destroy their town. But if you ice it over, I'll be happy to do it for you. He turned to face the encampment. With archers, charge your arrows. Tibs felt essence shift. Raona was the hero archer, and she'd spent the hour here instructing the other two on how to create one specific effect. Fire archers, ready your attacks. Mez and Amelia pulled on the string of their bow, and essence coalesced into the form of an arrow. The Omega archers pulled an arrow out of the bucket each and notched them. Mez? Don asked. Don't worry, I light them as soon as they release them. Fire essence pooled at the tip of the arrows. As arranged, fire. Raona let her arrow fly, and the response from the encampment was immediate. Arrows came at them. He smiled and took hold of the water vapor in the air. He hadn't been able to justify his presence. Don had questioned it, but Tibs had come up with things he could do while they waited. An arrow entered his range, and it was coated with water. Then it stopped, fell there by Tibbs's will, so Don could see before it dropped. A second and a third, and this one rotted and had nothing solid for the water to hold on as it formed around it. Tibbs caught Don's smirk and pushed his range further with effort. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw fire arrows fly at Sebastian's camp. Some entirely of fire, others only the head. Only the head. The Everburn igniting as it passed through the cloud of fire essence in front of the arrow. He caught more arrows, not bothering displaying them before they fell. Then another rotted as he catched it. Tibbs gritted his teeth and pushed further. He would show Dawn who was there. A scream came. The youngest of the wood archer had an arrow in his shoulder and was falling back. Cursing himself for wanting to outdo Dawn, distract him from protecting his people, Tibbs set a mountain of snow on the inclined roof for them to land and slide in, as well as far ahead to land on the ground in cushion. On the land, far ahead, as well as on the ground, to cushion their fall. The curses from the fighters there to guard them and the building as the snow buried them was a small price to pay for the archer surviving the fall. He and Dawn shared a look as they focused ahead again, and the sorcerer looked as sorry as Tibbs felt for letting this happen. Will this be a problem? Don asked as they stopped more arrows. The fire spread within the camp, spreading quicker than it should in places while exploding in small bursts in others. No, the work was on the arrows we sent, Raona replied. At this point, one less isn't going to make a difference, and we should see it right about. The crackling of wood overshadowed every other sound. Now. Then came the screams, and Tibbs' concentration faltered as he watched trees grow at the back of the encampment. A lot of them, and they were growing fast and growing tall. I would love to see them untangle that thing out from that, Rawana said, beaming. Don't let pride be your downfall, Amelia said, continuing to fire. You may have taken out their largest weapon, and congratulations on that, but there are still many more of them. We must continue to know, Don said. Our job was to destroy or incapacitate the catapult and do as much damage as we could in the process. Now it's time to retreat. Me and Tibbs will cover you as you go down. The Omegas were lowered, then the wood archers. By the time Amelia started down, a pained scream came from below. Tibs exchanged a look of worry with Don before running down the roof. Thugs in green and black were mixed in with the runners. The few still alive fought hard, but even with essence, they weren't as skilled as the men they were against. As the men they fought against. Tibs sent water down and landed in it, creating a wave that sent everyone to below him. Tibs sent water below him and landed in it, creating a wave that sent everyone down. The thugs were quicker to get up. There he is, one of them called. Tibs, Ness called from where he was climbing down, Amelia right behind him. At the end of the roof, Don looked down, eyes wide in fear, before vanishing up the slope. This forced the sorcerer out of his mind. He didn't have time to hope. He was just looking for a better position to attack from. Two of the runners stood and backed to his position. The wood archer Tibs made the snowbank for, as well as Richard, were the only archers still breathing, but they weren't conscious. Oh, wait a minute. No, yep, that's still work. But weren't conscious. He pulled them to him on the sheet of water. Then the three fighters he could see breathing. Maz, he told his friend as he heard him land. You and the others need to take the injured to the inn. I'll keep them busy. We're not leaving you here alone, one of the fighters said. Maz, Tibs said, looking over his shoulder. I need you and the others to take anyone alive to the inn. I will hold them back. Are you sure? The archer asked. This sounds a lot like a Jackal thing to do. Tibs grinned. I'm not Jackal. He looked at the thugs, and I have been wanting a chance to let loose. You heard him, Miss said. Grab someone and start moving. No arguing. The archer picked up the wood archer. No dying, he told Tibs before leaving. Tibs stood alone, facing 1 and 5 thugs in green and black. They'd come for him, and they'd come in force. You're smart to send them away. Now they won't have to see you surrender. I'm not surrendering. I'm going to kill each and every one of you. Made a sword and shield from ice, both jagged and dangerous looking. He'd start with that, then he'd have fun with the other elements, but not fire, he decided. Fire would end this too quickly. The only thing he had to worry about was making sure the buildings were still standing by the time they were all dead. So this would be fun. Well, he decided as the confusion of the thugs turned to detonation, he should try to keep them standing. If he couldn't, could always claim one of them was the reason. Was the reason he had to be a little clearer. Alrighty, that concludes chapter 106. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next one is going to be, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story, it is up on Royal Road for free. If you want to read ahead of Royal Road by about 9 chapters and support me, you can do that on my Patreon. If you want to listen and watch me do these live, it's on Twitch every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. The links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.